my husband had a big fight with my son and kicked him out. And
Oh,
I was so scared. He was only 16.
ooh,
And he said he had been saving for his runaway money anyway, so didn't matter. He can just leave.
oh,
I was really scared, but really grateful that my parent at that time was on vacation, so he stayed in my parents' place for a couple of weeks. And I saw my boys, his grade average was like in almost 90s, but he failed his first test ever. And the next one was like 60 or something. I felt really devastated. Um, End up my husband regretted and he swapped living places with our son, because he was not willing, because our boys were not willing to live with his dad. So end up they swap places. So my husband moved out and my son, in order for my son to move back. And I felt so helpless that seemed like everything I had been trying to patch was falling apart.
welcome to the Empowered Wife podcast, where it's all about fixing your marriage without your man's conscious effort so that you feel desired and taken care of and special, even if your relationship feels hopeless right now. I'm Laura Doyle, and today we're talking about what to do if your husband's mental illness is ruining your marriage. My guest, Katherine, had children who were only teenagers when her husband asked her to separate, which left her feeling abandoned and scared. But that was then. Katherine made some big changes, and today her husband seeks her out. He says she's beautiful and that he is so lucky to have her as his wife. How did she make such dramatic changes in her marriage? Well, she's going to tell us how she did it so you can do it too. But first, let's talk about what to do if your husband's mental illness is ruining your marriage, because it feels so discouraging and heavy when your husband is diagnosed with something like attention deficit disorder or obsessive compulsive disorder, or narcissism, or borderline personality, anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, post-traumatic stress disorder, or dissociative disorder, or schizophrenia. You've hitched your wagon to someone with a big defect or disorder or deficit, and that can feel like a miserable life sentence. It's very disheartening. And maybe you don't even have a formal diagnosis, but you've read things and you've observed his behavior, and you can see that there's a connection between what you've read and what you've observed. Scary, right? And it's hard to find this out after you're already married. But it's also very intriguing in my experience, or almost seductive, to get a diagnosis for your husband. It was for me because it holds the promise that maybe there's some treatment, there's some way to fix him. And then I thought I would finally be able to be happy, right? There's medication or therapy that's going to make him better. I remember feeling so excited when John was diagnosed with attention deficit disorder, because I thought, well, that explains a whole lot. And I thought once we fix that, then all my problems, like him not doing the housework, or, not redoing his resume so he could make more money, him forgetting to be affectionate toward me, I thought all of that would be cleared up when we cleared up the ADD, or treated the symptoms at least. And plus, I thought, this is really validating because it shows that I was right. Yeah, I knew there was something wrong, and I was right. There was something wrong with my husband. And that was why we were having problems in our marriage. Of course, it didn't turn out that way. And the medication and the therapy didn't resolve all the marriage problems we were having, or any of them, as far as I knew. And there's three reasons for that, which I'm going to tell you about. And then I'm going to share what I did instead that actually did solve a lot of the problems. The first thing I was doing wrong was I was not on my paper. So what do I mean about my paper? Well, my paper is where all my decisions live, right? This is what time I go to bed and what I have for lunch and who I talk to throughout the day. And my husband has his own paper with all those decisions on it too, right? What my attitude is going to be. So at first, my paper was just sort of stuck to the back of John's paper, and I was really focused on everything on his side, right? His attention deficit disorder was a big topic of conversation at our house. And when I started learning the intimacy skills, I learned how to get back onto my paper. That's where all my power lies, is on my paper. I'm not going to have any success living on John's paper. It's sort of like telling the ocean to just be still, like stop making waves, ocean, right? That never works, but it is exhausting. And that's exactly what was happening. So I learned how to get back onto my paper by asking myself these two powerful questions. And they are, and write this down if you can, they are, how do I feel and what do I want? How do I feel and what do I want? And so one of the issues I was having is, he would forget to do housework. He wouldn't see the mess, because of ADD. So, but when I just got back onto my paper, how do I feel? Kind of exhausted and overwhelmed with all the housework. And what do I want? Well, what I wanted was a self-cleaning house. That's what I wanted. And you might be saying, but Laura, self-cleaning houses don't exist. And that's true. I mean, I get theoretically those don't exist. However, by figuring out my feelings and my desires, I actually feel like I do have a self-cleaning house now, right? So my husband, John, does the dishes. He makes the bed. He waters the plants. The cleaning people come every 2 weeks and clean the bathrooms and do, the floors and do a deep cleaning. So it kind of feels like I have a self-cleaning house now. So, and that had nothing to do with him being on Ritalin or going to therapy or anything like that. It just had to do with me getting onto my paper, figuring out what I wanted. Number two thing that I was doing wrong is that I was focused on all the wrong things. I remember spending a lot of time and energy thinking about his attention deficit disorder because I really thought that was going to solve all our problems. And around that time, I also remember having a big aha moment because I heard about a book, and I have not read this book. I only heard about this book, and it was called The Myth of Mental Illness. The Myth of Mental Illness. And it was written by a psychiatrist, the very people that sort of propagate the mental illness system. And from what little I know about this book, he was putting forth the idea, the premise that there is no biological or chemical basis to mental illness. And that meant that my husband's ADD, this was the bolt of lightning that hit me, was just a story. It was just a story, even though I had a formal diagnosis. And I had another story about my husband also, and that was the story from when we first met and fell in love, where he was smart and capable and handsome and confident and talented and crazy about me. And that story seemed very real. And so did the ADD story now. And I didn't know how I could get back to that other story that I had been telling. So, but I knew that the ADD story was a pretty depressing storyline. It was kind of a downer because nothing really was working, even though he got on medication. It really wasn't changing things. So what I had done was gathered a lot of evidence that there was proof, undeniable proof for something that I did not want to experience. But I was bringing a lot of focus to it, lots. And whenever I do that, what I focus on increases. So he seemed even more broken to me than ever after we got this diagnosis. And I had even more reason to take over everything, take over responsibility for everything in our lives because he didn't seem like he could handle it. And I was already so exhausted and overwhelmed. So this just contributed to the vicious cycle that we were already in. Not very helpful. Number three thing I was doing wrong was that I was not respectful to my husband. I mean, and you might be thinking, you know what, Laura, this is a cute story about your husband's ADD, but my husband's mental illness is much more severe and it's making him behave in ways that are really causing me to suffer, right? That might be your situation. And I get it. And I don't mean to minimize your experience at all because it's very real. I remember my experience was real too. So, what if your husband seems downright crazy? That can be really terrifying and exhausting. And I remember in our case, the diagnosis was a deficit and a disorder, and it certainly seemed like a defect. And I remember using the word crazy too. And whenever I would approach him with even that energy, like you're crazy, much less the words, made my husband very defensive. Yeah, he got defensive, and people are not at their best when they're defensive. And you see a lot of unwanted behavior when they're defensive. So he got very upset about that. And when I learned about being respectful and how much better that feels for me than calling my husband crazy, and how much better he responds to me when I'm respectful, uh, well, that's when his mental illness got so small, it vanished. And it wasn't the medicine, it wasn't the therapy. His illness, his mental illness no longer hurts me. It doesn't hurt our marriage. It doesn't hurt him. I no longer even think about it. I'm not sure if he even has ADD. I mean, if you ask me, I would say, no, I don't think so. He seems fine. He seems great. So could that happen in your case too? I mean, only you know if this is something that's worth experimenting with, right? These three things that we've been talking about: being on my paper, choosing my focus wisely, and choosing to be respectful made my husband's mental illness a non-issue. If it can work for me, then why not you too? I'd love to hear about it, because I'm not giving up until you get the marriage you dreamed of when you first fell in love. I have exciting news for you, because right now you can listen to my book, The Empowered Wife, for free with your Audible membership in the United States. So discover the 6 surprising secrets to attract your man's time, his attention, his affection when you listen to the Empowered Wife audiobook on Audible without using credits. You don't need any credits. It's free. The Empowered Wife has over 1,700 5-star reviews, and it also has some 1-star reviews too, because not everybody is ready to hear what they can do to fix their relationship without their man even knowing about it. And I get it. I wasn't ready either until my marriage was completely falling apart and we were on the brink of divorce. And then I learned from women with happy marriages what actually works. And now my marriage is shiny and amazing. And those secrets are in this book, and you can listen to the whole book for free with your Audible membership. The only catch is that this Audible deal is only for a limited time. So to make your marriage last and thrive, go and listen for free with your Audible membership right now. My guest Katherine's children were teenagers when her husband said he wanted to separate, which left her feeling abandoned and scared. But that was then. Katherine made some big changes, and today her husband seeks her out, says she's beautiful, and that he is so lucky to have her as his wife. How did Katherine make such a dramatic change in her marriage? She's going to tell us so you can do it too. Katherine, welcome to the Empowered Wife podcast. I'm so thrilled to have you as my guest.
Hi, Laura. I'm so happy to see you. Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me.
So let's go back to the bad old days. What was happening in your marriage?
Oh, I'm going to tell you a long story. I grew up being the eldest in the family with an emotionally absent father, and I was looking for a husband to take care of me. And ironically, and my perfect match is the baby of the family with a father was in fact physically absent.
Oh.
So at some point, I learned that that is the formula for disasters. And we survived for about 20 years together with lots of wounds. We tried marriage counseling, marriage enrichment camp, books, communication skills, all that. The more I knew, the more I grew arrogant. And my intention was to change him. And finally, with our 2 adolescent boys adding to the load, my husband had enough of me, and he was depressed, and he shouted for divorce from little things, and he said he could not save the family, but to save himself only by leaving. And I was really devastated. And one night, I could not sleep after a fight. I grabbed a book from the bookshelf, reading it in one sitting. Guess what book it is? It's The Surrender Wife.
It was on your bookshelf already?
Yeah, it was sitting there for I don't know how many years. I did not want to read it in the first place because I thought I already did it all. I took care of everything. respect him and be the good wife. But as many have said, reading the book was so convicting and turned my perspective upside down.
Oh,
Yeah, later on, when I first read the book that the previous name first killed the marriage counselor, I did not even link the book Surrender Wave with you because the Surrender Wave, I was reading the Chinese version years ago. So with the
oh,
Chinese name, I didn't link the two names together.
yeah.
But I simply felt so desperate. The marriage counseling did not work. So that book attracted my attention.
Oh,
And yeah, I found the skill and it was really inspiring.
oh,
But I tried to change my dynamic, and there were more good days, but it was hard just reading the books. I did some changes. I changed from arrogant to sad and almost hopeless.
oh.
Yeah. Because of the past hurt, I felt like breathing around my husband already made him defensive. I didn't have to do anything. I just need to be around him, and he felt defensive already. And I also changed from condemning him to praising him. When I saw my husband being depressed, I bought a dog that he dreamed for many years for having a dog. But he loved the dog so much that I felt jealous and lonely. And I was exhausted and frustrated. I was about to throw my towel and ready to give up.
Oh, it sounds heartbreaking, especially the part where just you breathing around him made him defensive. Like he, uh, far from feeling desired or adored, like he just was trying to get away, it sounds like. Or, yeah, is that,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
it's heartbreaking, right? It's just such a lonely feeling
yeah,
to, yeah. So, all right. So, and I really hear the switch. You thought, okay, you were exhausted, like I'm doing everything, but then you read the book and thought, okay, now I'm just gonna try to please him. I'll get him a dog. And that didn't really solve the problems in your marriage, it sounds like, because he just was giving all the affection that you wanted was going to the dog instead
yeah.
of to you, which just oh,
Oh,
so painful.
yeah.
So,
It
oh,
was hard. Yeah.
yeah. And your kids were adolescents, you said, around this time. So,
Yeah, yeah, it's just adding all the firm, all the argument and all the fights at home. It was just chaotic. And one night I was searching on the internet and I forgot what I was searching, but coach training came up.
oh,
And I thought, what was I going to lose? And may as well learn from the highest level. So I wasn't planning to be a coach. I simply thought that would help me to dive deep into the skills. So I just signed in right into coach training. Yeah, I was so
oh,
thankful that I joined the program because a few months into the program, my family had a breakdown that my husband had a big fight with my son and kicked him out. And
oh,
I was so scared. He was only 16.
oh,
And he said he had been saving for his runaway money anyway, so didn't matter. He can just leave.
oh,
I was really scared, and but really grateful that my parent at that time was on vacation, so he stayed in my parents' place for a couple weeks. And I saw my boys, his grade average was like in almost 90s, but he failed his first test ever. And the next one was like 60 or something. I felt really devastated. Um, End up my husband regretted and he swapped living places with our son, because he was not willing, because our boys were not willing to live with his dad. So end up they swap places. So my husband moved out and my son, in order for my son to move back. And I felt so helpless that seemed like everything I had been trying to patch was falling apart. I saw every work I did for years breaking down. But the morning my husband moved out, it was a holiday that called Family Day here. How ironic. He moved out on Family Day.
oh, wow. Ouch. It sounds devastating.
Yeah.
And I hear the helplessness. Like there was nothing you could do to put this back together. You'd already been trying for a long time.
Yeah, yeah. But I was so thankful that I was in coach training and I had the skill. And I said thank you to my husband for sacrificing for the family. And I gave him a hug. I called him in the afternoon to see if he was doing okay. And later on, he told me the hug and the call gave him hope to trust that I had changed and the new me is here to stay.
Oh my gosh. Wow, that gives me chills.
Yeah,
So that was a big deal to do that. So that must have felt kind of vulnerable on your
yeah.
part. Was it scary to do that?
Uh, the old me would be blaming him. And I was the kind of wife that honored the children and parent the husband. That was the old me.
Ah,
Yeah, but with the books, with the coach training, and I had peace and I had hope, and it was vulnerable, but I was totally okay. I really hugged him from my heart, and I really called to find see if he was doing okay, settling in okay, and I didn't know that was an act that really gave him hope.
wow. Well, that must have made you feel great that you were able to create hope
Yeah.
finally. It's what you'd wanted to do for a long time, it sounds like.
Mhm.
Yeah. So then what happened?
Oh, and then 3 months. 3 months that we lived separate, but he came home like every a few a few nights every week. He came home and we start to have some good time and good conversation. And finally, it was my son who my husband kicked out, said want him back.
Oh, wow. So there was a healing in their relationship, it sounds like.
Yeah, and it was really a turning point that we start to have family conversation. We were able to sit four of us together and have talk and share. That was lovely.
Wow. It sounds lovely. Now, and before all this happened, your husband had been saying he wanted to separate anyway. Is that right?
Oh, he has been saying that for years.
Oh,
I forgot how many is. I think maybe from day one till I think it's 7 or 8 years. He kept saying that.
and did you feel like that was a real threat or was it he just saying it?
It was a real threat because he was actually looking for apartments.
Oof. Oof. Okay,
Yeah.
so very scary. Uh, yeah, would really trigger feelings of abandonment, I'm sure.
Yeah, from my grew up, and it was really, really hard because I came from a sense of abandonment from my own family. And those years, I felt like I was emotionally paralyzed and I felt like I didn't want to do anything and just exhausted and headache and with my two boys' adolescent years add onto the table and it was just terrifying.
Yeah, just I can really relate to having a big fear of feeling abandoned and so exhausted from trying to make sure I'm not abandoned, it sounds like. Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay, so then when he moved out, even though it was about a fight with your son, that really brought all that back. Like, okay, it's actually happening. So, and was it embarrassing? Like here you are in coach training and your husband's moving out. Was that kind of a, I don't know, a point of maybe that you wanted to not tell everybody in coach training, like all your peers, that, oh, my husband just moved out? Or how did you handle that?
Oh, amazingly, I felt the support in the group and I was crying in class. And my fellow classmates just support me and put me on perspective and holding up the hope for me. And and actually at that point, we were not really at our worst. Our relationship was not really at our worst, but it was just a total breakdown before a breakthrough.
Wow. Okay, so when would you say your relationship was at its worst?
It wasn't at our worst when he moved out. We were already changing and doing
Oh.
better. But then because of the fight with my son, and end up my husband, because my husband is a really sensitive and emotional kind of guy. He's a good man. He's a good guy. And he felt disrespect from my son. And that's why he snarled out, if you are not respecting me, you just moved. And that's why the argument happened. And then I was so thankful that's why when you ask me whether it is hard to do, I guess because I was so thankful that he was willing to sacrifice, to swap places with our boy in order for him to move back so that he can settle down and heal better and faster. And he felt lonely in my parents' apartment alone. And he did share with me that he didn't knew what happened. He didn't know what happened, and suddenly we were separate, and that's not what he wanted. But we were separate. So those 3 months, I don't really know whether we are really separate or we are all in a healing process.
Gotcha. So I hear a lot of hope and faith from you, even as this was like, this is your worst nightmare. It would have been your worst nightmare,
Yeah.
but it kind of wasn't because you knew you were on your way somewhere better as
Yeah.
part of this process. So beautiful. I just admire that so much, Katherine. So, all right. So what else were you doing differently than what you had been doing before?
Um, I think the thing that I really changed the most is I stay on my paper and take ownership to clean my side of the street. I apologize for being disrespectful because the old me would justify or hoping that he would take responsibility of his part because it takes two to argue, right? That's
That's
what I
right.
thought.
That's right.
Yeah, but now I simply want to make my side of the street beautiful, and I feel so freeing to show up dignified. And amazingly, I learned that when I was stable and peaceful, intimacy restored in no time. And my husband actually apologized sometime too.
He did.
He did.
That's what you always wanted, and you finally got that apology. And then by the time that apology came, well, how was that for you?
Oh, I just hugged him and we just smiled and I just said, it's okay. It's okay.
So okay, how did he respond when you apologized to him? Because that's a big deal, right? It takes a lot of courage.
I guess sometimes when he really feel disrespect and he would just hug me and smile and that our intimacy was restored. And sometimes he didn't feel it. I remember one time we were in a Chinese restaurant and I forgot what kind of joke we were talking about. And then I apologized to him. He said, "Oh, I didn't think there's any problem." I said, "I just don't feel respectful to you and I need to apologize." And he just smiled.
He just smiled. So, oh my gosh. So it wasn't even about, you weren't apologizing like I'm trying to get him to I'm trying to make things nice again, right? I'm just like, let's just get over it. I apologize. I apologize. It wasn't like that. This was you. It didn't feel good to Katherine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You
The old me would do that. Yeah, but not anymore. I really feel that I want to clean my side of the street. I want to be respectful. Yeah, and that's why
Wow.
I feel so good. Even though there were times in the beginning of my journey, he wouldn't accept my apology, and there were times, and also there were times that I was so afraid to apologize. And I remember at one time I had to work myself up for a few hours before I had the courage to apologize. I rehearsal to myself, what would I do if he rejected? Because I knew my husband, he he could be really defensive. And I was thankful that I did the so-called workshop myself into the apology. And he did stomp his feet when I say apologize for being disrespectful. He said, "Why can't you just let me vent?" And then because of that practice, I had the courage and I just go hug him and I said, I know, I know. And I hugged him for a whole minute. He was so stiff and was still angry, I guess. And a whole minute, he softened up and hugged me back.
Oh, beautiful. Oh my gosh, that just melts me. So, I love this. I want to break this down a little bit because you planned to make an apology and it was a big departure from how you'd been showing up previously, it sounds like. This was a brand new thing for you to apologize to him.
Yeah.
And you thought he might not respond well because you knew he had been defensive. So
Yeah.
you practiced and practiced yourself, just by yourself, like in front of a mirror, or
Yeah.
okay, okay. I love it. And so you kind of walked into it prepared, like this might not go over well, but I'm going to just do it anyway. I'm doing it. I'm doing this no matter what. And he didn't respond well. He stomped his feet and said, "Why don't you let me vent?" And you just hugged him until he melted. And you both melted at that point.
Yeah.
And there
Yeah.
was tenderness between you.
Yeah, yeah. When I practice, I actually prepare to say ouch if he said anything hurtful, and I prepare myself. But when he really stomped his feet and said, "Why can't you let me vent?" I didn't need to say ouch. I didn't feel hurt. I just have the courage. I just feel that, oh, he really hurt. And I just hugged him and I said, okay, I know.
Oh, so you had so much compassion for your husband in that moment. And and it sounds like this was new. Like before you felt like you were the victim. He should apologize to you. And this was a total change of heart for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Even in the transition, I would think, I already apologized. What more do you want? What else do you want? But that point, I saw myself totally transformed, and that was just a totally new me.
It sounds like a superpower, Catherine, to be able to do that, right? Did it feel like it too?
Yeah, yeah, I was amazed. I didn't even need to say out.
Yeah, you didn't even need you practiced that part, but
Yeah,
that wasn't necessary. And it sounds like you were really staying with yourself during that exchange. And you checked like, oh, did that hurt? No, I don't even need to say ouch. I'm all good. I'm all good.
yeah.
Wow. And so so there was a softening. So and what else? So I know you really were working on staying on your paper. Where all your decisions live, right? Everything you have control over. What else did you do about your paper?
Um, I live with spouse fulfilling prophecy for
Hmm.
my family. And I said I have a harmony family that sticks together, fights together,
Oh, wait, that sticks together and what's together?
fights together.
Fights together?
Yeah.
Okay, sticks together and
But
fights
not
together.
fight among ourselves, fights the outside challenge.
Oh, gotcha. Fights like to stay together, really, like fights for each other kind of
Yeah,
thing. Okay, gotcha.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, good.
And the best part is I collect evidence, how we dealt with challenges together, and how my husband said losing the rental car was okay for as long as me and our boy were safe. And that's so comforting. And because I was so scared, so worried that I put the key inside the car without locking the car because the drop off wasn't open and there was nobody there. And I was so stupid. I just left the key in the compartment and just left the car unattended.
Oh,
And I was so scared and asked my husband for help to call the rental company because me and my boy, he was so generous. He let me and my boy to go for a trip, just the two of us. And because our boy was struggling in school, and my husband allowed us to just go on a trip, one-on-one trip, and I lost our rental car.
oh,
And he said, that's okay. That's okay. As long as you guys are good, it's okay. Wow, that was so comforting because I was so scared and you're so assuring. And we had a good trip. and because of
Oh,
what he said.
oh my gosh. So just as a mere mortal woman, you made a mistake, right? And you're allowed to make mistakes. And all he cares about is your safety and yeah, your well-being and your happiness, it sounds like.
Yeah, yeah, the old me didn't have much room for mistakes.
For yourself or for him or both?
For both.
Yeah. So there was some perfectionism going on in the
Yes.
old. Okay, gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, so you had a family fulfilling prophecy. Say it one more time. Say your family fulfilling prophecy again.
I have a harmony family that sticks
Okay.
together, thrives together.
I have harmony for my family that sticks together and fights together. Yeah. Yeah, I love it. And so you started saying it, it didn't seem true when you first started saying it. Is that right?
No, because I had so much complaint for my husband. I was so resentful towards him because, as I said in the beginning, I was the eldest in the family and he was the baby in the family, right? And I was perfectionist. I was controlling. I thought I knew better. So I took everything in my hand. And I did not know that my controlling, in fact, made him handicapped. And he didn't feel like participating at all. And he made suggestions I would criticize. And he made comments I would talk back. And I only complained for whatever he did. I took it for granted. And I feel I already did so much already, and he was just doing so little. And so practicing the skill, I start with gratitude to look for three things to thank him for each day. And I did the 30 days challenge, and it totally changed my heart towards my husband. And that's how I start to see him differently.
Wow. Wow, I love it. I love it. Okay, so what is your marriage like now?
Wow, it was just totally different. It is sweet and more fun. I went finding the dog to receive him home when he came home because my dog was like, I don't know why. He knew the time that my husband was about time to come home. He would just sit around waiting. And I fight her to get to my husband. That was fun.
So you and the dog are competing to get to the to your husband when he comes home. I
Yeah.
love
Uh,
it.
and
Yeah.
when I went out and when I came home, my husband smiled at me and saying, "Oh, you are home." He loved me going out with my friend and doing my things, and he loved me coming home smiling, and he received me really, really happily.
Wow.
Yeah, and now sometimes I get really busy with things I love. And I not only go out with friends for walk and talk every week, and I serve as a volunteer enjoying helping people and also as a campus coach here. And he sit me out and check on me, and he take up the role of planning for vacation, and he invites me for hiking and camping.
Oh.
He talked with me about his work, where he used to feel that I would be too helpful to teach him how to handle the situation. And now I just listen to him and just say, I hear you. I hear you. Yeah. And he listened to me sharing my struggle too, and he helped me and said sometimes and sometimes he stepped up to solve my problem in a miraculous way that I could not think of myself. Like the other day, I told him I one of the co-worker, the volunteer work that he was sick, and if I have to host that program, I couldn't drive our boy to the volleyball tournament. And he came up with a solution that he said he could drive. He could just have his meeting in the car because it's an online meeting anyway. It's totally okay. And I felt so loved and supported and so relieved.
So you didn't have to solve it yourself. He got to be your hero and
Yeah.
solve the whole thing. And it sounds like you feel really taken care of, and he probably feels like your hero.
Yeah. yeah, he felt so proud. He was so happy that he could be uh, stepping up and be the hero for ourselves. I remember he bought that little turtle statue, four stacking together. He told me he was the one at the bottom, carrying all the three of us. And I was so surprised seeing that statue. And that was after a 5 week away from home that he support me to go to Hong Kong to take care of my father. He fell and had a head injury. And I could never imagine that my husband said, "You just go. I'll take care of everything and it will be okay." And end up, my father recovered really faster than we expected. And my mom asked me, "You better go home. You better go home soon." And my high school friend invites me to go on a vacation. And my husband said, "Go, just go, enjoy your time. And I'm doing okay. You deserve it." Wow, I was totally amazed. And that was the best vacation ever. Not only my husband support me, love me, and I let my high school friend take care of everything. And I just relax, have all kind of massage and eat different kind of foods. And I just totally became being taken care of.
Wow. Amazing. And this was going from the woman who had to do everything to keep your family running to
Mhm.
leaving for 5 weeks. Like that must have been, was it scary to accept that, to receive all that?
Yeah, yeah. In the beginning, I thought, when I came home, what would happen, and how do my husband handle the two boys,
Oh,
and also there's a lot housework
yeah.
and business and all that, right? And
Driving kids around and all
yeah,
that. Yeah.
and we share a vending machine business with my husband, and he has to take care of all that all by himself on top of his full-time job. So I didn't know how he did that. And that's why when I went to Hong Kong, my mom kept telling me, "You better go," because my mom knew that I was the one doing everything, right? But he didn't know that my family was already switching and we are turning. But she was so worried about leaving my husband all alone with the two boys and everything. But it turned out perfect. It turned out okay. We talked here and there, and he did tell me some problems, some struggle, but he solved it. And my older son actually said, "I rise to the occasion." He
Oh,
himself rise to the occasion. I'm just so happy that my family fulfilling prophecy came true. We
oh,
do have a harmony family that stick together and we fight together for the challenge that we face, and everyone step up.
beautiful, Catherine. I'm so impressed. I mean, I give you all the credit for creating that because it wasn't like that before. But you made some very courageous changes. You were very humble and so committed. Does your husband ever bring up separation now?
Oh no, no, not anymore. I don't remember since when for so long. And after I came back from that Hong Kong trip, he actually said he want to stay with me forever. And he was saying I was growing. I was so beautiful and so happy, and he just want to see more of me like that.
Wow. Wow. And this was just, I mean, that turned into a self-care trip for you, like going on vacation with your high school friend. He just wants you to get lots of self-care and be happy, it sounds like.
It was, it was. Actually, when you say giving me all the credit, I just didn't feel. I know I want to receive it graciously, but I just don't feel that I got all the credit. I was just doing my part and staying on my paper, making my side of the street beautiful. And then truly my two boys and my husband, they all step up. They all are being a good man. And it's just, I didn't see that before. And I took it for granted. And I didn't let them step up, and I already did it.
Yeah, you already did it. You already did everything. There's no need. So you have
Yeah,
three good men.
yeah,
And but the reason I give you all the credit is because this isn't the course you were on. This is not the family you would have had if you'd stayed on the course that
yeah,
you'd been on. And so you made a big change. And that I just know for me, change is uncomfortable. So you
yeah,
had to stretch, you had to grow, and you did. You rose to the occasion too.
yeah.
And then everybody else rose to the occasion around you, which is amazing.
Mm.
And what is your tip for someone who is where you were, where her husband maybe is saying, "Let's separate. I can't make you happy." And there's conflict with her kids and her husband that looks like it's going to break the family apart. And she wants what you have now, where he just seeks out your company and he tells you how beautiful you are and he just wants to stay with you forever. And the family has harmony and sticks together and fights the outside challenges together. What's your best tip for her? What should she do to get what you have?
Um, Gratitude is really the key to changing my heart. So I would love to invite the ladies to look into gratitude and keep choosing faith over fear because um, for myself, for my own experience, I chose a good man. I just didn't see it. So gratitude really helped me to find little thing, slowly build up to a big pile and slowly become my treasure box. And when I feel devastated, I go look into the gratitude journal, and that really helped me keep choosing faith over fear. And one step at a time, one step at a time. And looking back, I already did that far away from that terrible, miserable fight.
So gratitude just, and you have a gratitude journal, it sounds like. And do you continue to fill in your gratitude journal, or that was something you did
Yeah,
previously? You still
yeah,
do it. Yeah.
yeah.
And you mentioned that, I love that answer, but gratitude is so powerful. You mentioned that you didn't really want to become a coach. You just went into coach training to to fix your marriage, really. You thought this is what I need. I just want training at the highest level. So
Yes.
what changed for you? Because now you're a coach. So what happened there?
Oh, the peer, the support, the community, and I honestly I wait till the last minute to get certified because I wasn't planning to be a coach, and but because of the support from each other, and we encourage each other, and we have practice coach training, and I just want to stay in the community and we encourage each other. So we just asking each other, when are you going to apply for certification and all that? And I was really thankful that I do need to stay in the community to keep myself accountable and to keep myself having the support and being coached. Still from time to time, I am still a mere mortal woman. I still have emotion. I still not see the perspective in the right cross, and but then way faster, way sooner, way easier to just come back to perspective, and I really love the support and really thankful that I have the peer.
Oh, I love that too. So, Catherine, what do you think you would say to yourself if you could go back in time and tell yourself what you know now?
Oh, I say it's okay. It's okay. Just focus on taking care of yourself. And when you are happy, your family will be happy.
So simple, right? So beautiful. Do you think you would have believed yourself?
Right now, of course, but then it was kind of hard. Yeah, but then seeing myself, telling myself happy and hopeful, cheerful, going back, I will probably, yeah, I will probably keep trying. Yeah.
Keep trying.
Yeah.
How do you think this has impacted your two boys, your children?
Wow. I was so thankful that, especially my elder son, he still keep talking to me. He would still lie down next to my bed and chat with me and ask me about his dating struggle.
Oh,
And when they fight, and he talked to me about it. And also, my younger son asked me, "Where's the best place to date for a first date?" And I really love those kind of talk, and also and I learned how to be respectful, even to my boys as well. And they learn how to step up to be a hero, to take care of family and to take care of their mom. And I think that would really help them to grow up to be caring and loving man or husband in the future. And really, really thankful that I have this skill. And even though during all those struggle years, those are lessons that we learned how to be a better person.
oh, so beautiful, Katherine. Your sons confide in you. They feel safe, and so you have this connection with them that it sounds like you really treasured. Who wouldn't? What mother doesn't want to feel like she's on the inside of what's happening in her son's lives? So that's beautiful. That's really a great accomplishment. In fact, I think you are very so accomplished. I'd like to
Oh,
give you my best wife award. I'd like to congratulate you on your incredible accomplishment of fixing your family and making it harmonious, so that your family sticks together and that you fight your challenges together, because it's really so impressive, and it takes so much commitment and so much courage, and you really showed all that, and I'm very impressed and happy to celebrate with you all that you've created.
wow. Thank you, Laura. I'm so thankful that I found you. Without the community, without the coach training, I couldn't do that with just the books. And I was so thankful that I made the best choice to jump right into coach training.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, you and I have the same secret that we just need the community to continue to be our best selves.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful you did too, because it's a joy to just be on this journey with you, Katherine. And you did a great job telling your story today. So thank you so much. It's been a real treat.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you.
According to a study at Harvard, and this was horrifying to hear, if you know a couple who's getting divorced, you are 75% more likely to get divorced too. Woo! It matters who you listen to, which is why over 7,000 women like you who think that having a great marriage is important have joined our free Adored Wife group. The Adored Wife group is a launch pad where you can meet our certified coaches and discover the best next steps for making your marriage last and thrive. It's 100% free to join. Just go to lauradoyle.org/group right now. This is a private group, and it's not for everybody, but if you are a wife or girlfriend who thinks that having a great marriage is important too, we'd all really like to meet you. So go to lauradoyle.org/group right now to join us free. That's lauradoyle.org/group. Listen and subscribe to the Empowered Wife podcast. On next week's episode, I'm going to reveal the 5 gifts of femininity. These are your birthright as a woman. And if no one's ever told you about them before, I cannot wait for you to find out what they are. In the meantime, I hope you're having lots of fun. Today's fun fact is that some people say I exaggerate. Yeah, I've heard that about 1 billion times.